Hello and welcome to Let's Chat. I am your host, Valerie Costa, and with me here today is Gil Mathew, the Executive Director of the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, or NCERC. Welcome, Gil.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while.
It's good to see you as well. So I know that you were involved with the ERC. This is kind of your second go around with them. And I would love to hear like the history, because I believe you were there when it was founded. Is that correct?
Very shortly after it was founded. It was founded in 1996 by some kind of city fathers who we had just lost Mountain People's Warehouse. They had moved to Auburn, and Grass Valley Group was downsizing. And some of the people thought, we need to stem the tide. So there was no economic development activity in the county, and so they created the Economic Resource Council. And a little interesting fact about that is most economic development are called economic development corporations, and the word development was not a word you wanted to use in 1996. So they called it the Nevada County Economic Resource Council. And that was 96. I became involved with them in 1999, and then subsequently in 2001 I became the chair of the ERC and was on that board for several years until I sold my company. After 26 years in manufacturing, I sold it, and they said, gosh, you're an economist and we need a executive director, how about you? And I said, yes. So I raised my hand in 2008 and went to work for the ERC then.
Wow, and I know that's very exciting, and to come back and do it again must be quite the journey. When it was founded, that was very smart to not use the word development, because we know how people feel about the word development around here.
Yeah.
It would be a 4-letter word. But what was the initial focus? I know that it has changed focus over the years, just since I've been aware of the ERC, and so we'll get to that. But in the beginning, what was the main focus of being an economic resource development council, or whatever you wanted to call it?
So economic development was built on sort of a platform of I'm going to go to your county and steal your business while you're in my county stealing mine.
Oh.
And the underlying of that was because jobs was the requirement. So you wanted to bring companies in who could hire people. We had an excess of people, not enough jobs for them. So we needed to create those jobs. When I came on in 2008, I took a look at that and I said, this makes no sense from an economic perspective, because I'll lose as many businesses as I would ever gain. And so I tried to shift the focus of the ERC to being one of growing organically within the community. There was finding people who had desire, interest, and capacity to build a business. And I called myself the poster child. I moved to Nevada County in 1981 with the express purpose of building a business. I did, started in a garage. 26 years later, 65 employees and about $5 million in sales, and I sold it. And that's what we wanted to build. We wanted to build many more of those, and so we began a campaign of that. And I worked that for 3 years, but then I left to seek some other adventures.
Oh, well, that's understandable. So does that mean that there was kind of a light manufacturing focus, or was it like everything? Because I know that like AJA and Grass Valley Group and Telestream and all of those companies are here, and they're not like the big business front businesses. It's more like those behind the scenes types of things. Was that what you were really focusing on as an organization, or was
Yes.
it more of a all of the above?
No, economic development there's two parts to economic development, if I could bore you with some definitions.
You're not boring me at all. Please
Okay.
do.
Okay, economic development is about the policies and the initiatives that increase the quality of life, the standard of living. A good example of that would be broadband. If we could get broadband ubiquitous throughout the community, there would be a better quality of life here. It might not result in any increase in GDP. Economic growth is an increase in GDP, So if kombucha, Gold Vibe Kombucha were to sell more of their product in Sacramento, that would create a greater GDP. And so what we wanted to find is those companies that we could export products and services and import wealth. Because when you import the wealth, it will now begin to cycle 3, 4, 5, 6 times, depending on the kind of industry that it is. So we were looking for those kinds of businesses that would export products and services.
Okay, well that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the kombucha. I haven't been there yet, but I really enjoy their the Gold Vibe kombucha. I get it everywhere. So I know that it has had, ERC has had many iterations, many people come through it. And I remember a few years ago, there was a big push to bring tech jobs up here, but as you have so succinctly laid out, the lack of broadband is a hindrance to that, especially if you're trying to recruit younger people from the Bay Area. We can crow about all of our wonderful natural resources and recreational opportunities and arts, but what it comes down to is if we don't have that broadband, we can't do that. And so it seems like maybe the focus has shifted from bringing up these like work from home tech jobs to something else. Why don't you tell me what the ERC is focusing on now?
So one of the things when I came back in 2019, after being away for 9 years, was there was this conversation about the tech community. And in my inimitable fashion to look at things, one of my favorite books is Freakonomics, how we look at things differently. I said, wait, there isn't a tech industry. There is tech in every industry. Mm-hmm. You go to a metal fab shop, and he's going to be running CNC machinery. He's going to be using technology. Mm-hmm. So we changed the focus from looking at technology as a sector to saying take the technologists in every sector and try to bring them together. So that was kind of a change in that regard. Mm-hmm. So we started doing that. And that has had not the kind of success I'd like to have, but it takes more energy, time, and power than we have with just 2 people on staff. So it's been a little difficult, but we do recognize.
Is it you and Janet?
Yes.
Janet's wonderful. I cannot say enough wonderful things about Janet. I'm sure you'll watch this, Janet. I love you and I miss you. I haven't talked to her for a while. We used to talk regularly. So there was the tourism promotion had been under the purview of the ERC for a while, and now it is no longer. And so it seems like you have had to reinvent yourself in the last couple of years, like right around the time of COVID or through COVID. And I know that you are working with Sierra Business Council on some initiatives. Why don't you tell us about what the ERC is doing right now to promote economic development in Nevada County?
Okay, there's a couple of things that we are focusing on. First of all, let me go back and just mention Janet Augustine, who is the muscle of the organization. That organization would be nowhere near where it is without her. She's the glue. She's the everything. So, Janet, thank you. So what are we doing now about economic development? We received a grant from the County of Nevada to work with small emerging businesses. Back to my concept of bringing these things out of the ground. So I work on a continual basis with new emerging businesses to assist them. Because oftentimes what happens is someone knows how to make a widget. They don't know how to account for the widget. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the statistics, 20% of all companies that start fail within the first year, 30% within the first 3 years, and only about 30% of them survive to year 10. And if you go back and you investigate what were the failure causes tend to look around planning. It was poor planning, poor concept. And I use as an example one of the young gentlemen that I was working with. I won't tell you who he is because I don't have that privilege yet, but he started a company. He wanted to build this product. And so I make all the people I work with, I make them do a business plan. You have to sit down next to me and we build your business plan, to and including all the pro forma statements, all the way from the sales forecast through to the income statement, to the balance sheet, to the cash flow. So we can see what all the consequences, and then we can change in all the variables in that. So anyway, we sat down with him and we did that, and we found out every unit he sold, he lost more money.
Oh, geez.
Because the faulty concept in the beginning was wrong.
Mm.
So he abandoned that concept, went on to do some other things, but he could have invested thousands of dollars before he realized that was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. I love working with those kinds of people. I'm at 1 o'clock this afternoon, I'm meeting with another young company. I've been working with them for a year and a half. They're growing, and now this afternoon we're going to go look at larger space for them.
Oh, that's
So
exciting.
that's the kind of development. This is a product that gets exported out, the wealth comes in, employees get hired. In fact, we need more employees for him.
Mm.
So we were back years ago when I started jobs, 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 and today it's workforce, workforce, workforce.
Mm. Yeah, that's a very different way of looking at
Yeah.
things. So that is quite the service, helping people create a business plan. I was just thinking I would kind of like to go through that myself. That's pretty smart. And I know that you had the Green Screen Institute, and I'm guessing that COVID put that on hold. Is that something that is still happening? No, that's too bad.
No, it's gone. And I wasn't involved with ERC during those days,
Mm.
so I can't really speak to that. I just know that it evaporated for whatever the reasons were, but it's no longer viable. But what came out of that was a VR/XR capability that the ERC continues to support. And I think that can still be something that can be a mission for the ERC.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea because you have all of that set up. I mean, I've been to many meetings there. I
Yeah.
attended and hosted in front of that green screen, so I know how well used that was. Are you going to have any kind of not membership drive? That might not be the right way to say it, but
Oh, heck yeah.
how do you recruit? How do you recruit members, and what does a member? Because you are a membership-based organization, is that correct?
Yes.
How do you recruit members, and then what do people get as a privilege of membership? Like you said, the business plan, which is already like an amazing thing to offer.
You do not need to be a member to receive those services.
Oh.
Anyone in the community, those services are available throughout the community. So the value of membership are a couple. One is we have the table that has the best voice in town. We have the important people there. We have the cities, the counties, superintendent of schools. We have the hospital foundation. We have the major manufacturers, all sitting at the table. So last week at our board meeting, there was a round, kind of a discussion among the board members about the issue of fire insurance. We brought in 2 experts on insurance who could sort of guide the conversation so we didn't go straight. And they got to explore why the insurance issue is what it is. The solution sets to those are hard to put in place, but at least they know now why insurance works the way it does and how we can start to conquer that. So the value of the membership is to be a part of that voice. Your voice, and I used to say when I owned my manufacturing company that the ERC could do nothing in terms of promoting my business. My business was all exported out. But I felt a sense of community, and my idea was I put a drop in the bucket, you put a drop in the bucket, he puts a drop in the bucket. Pretty quick, we have a pail of water we can throw on a fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one benefit. Other benefits that accrue to it, for instance, we have coming up in October the annual economic summit. So if you're a member, you get a discounted price. Additionally, if you become a member at certain levels, one of the things we do, I just heard an airplane going over, and one of the things I'm kind of passionate about is we live pretty remote. And if you go to the river and have an accident and you need to be life flighted out, very expensive.
Yes.
So part of your membership includes a membership in Air Med.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just a little benefit because geographically where we live and the things that are important to this community that might not be important in Walnut Creek.
That is a smart partnership right there.
Mhm.
Very, very creative. And So if someone did want to become a member,
Mhm.
how would they do that?
They need to get on our website, www.ncerc.org, or give us a call. We can be found on the web very easily. And just call me and I'll come over, because I want to tell the story
Yeah.
of what it is. And membership, there are 3 levels: $1,000 level, a $500, and a $250. The $250 are for people who want to hear the voice, be a part of the voice, but they're not going to be people who are going to necessarily be involved in terms of volunteering for our activities. So, but the $500 level is for a small business, $1,000 for a larger business.
That seems like a fair price. And you had mentioned the Economic Summit. I've been to a couple of those, and they're fantastic. I highly recommend them. Who is your keynote speaker this year?
It is Dr. Raymond Sfer. He's out of Chapman University. He'll be coming up. But this year, the summit's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little more exciting.
Oh.
So it's going to be in 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be what we call snapshots. We're going to take snapshots of 4 institutions in Nevada County that made significant investments in Nevada County and ask the question, why? You could have moved to Arkansas. You could have gone to Idaho. You did it here. Why? And that's going to be moderated by Barbara Hayes, who's the chief economist for RCRC. She's a very bright woman, and she's a delightful person. She's going to moderate that conversation with these 4 businesses. And then we will go into the major part of it, which will be Dr. Sphere, who will be talking about the national and regional economic, sort of what's happened the last year and a half or so, but to talk about how that looks moving out, because 27th of October is like a week and a half before the midterm elections. And by that time, we believe this conversation about recession, we think will be more solidified by that time. So he should have some views of that. I just heard an economist speaking a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and talking about, is the recession possible? The indicators that would indicate that aren't there. The one indicator that they drive on is 2 consecutive quarters of loss of GDP. But every other indicator is very positive. Unemployment is extremely low, 2.7% in Nevada County.
Wow, that's unheard of.
Unheard of. Demand deposits are high. That is, there's a lot of cash out there. So those are the kinds of things that would indicate there's not going to be a recession. But Dr. Sphere will talk about that and expose perhaps the more in-depth economics about that. So.
That does sound exciting, and I know that everyone, not just in Nevada County, but in the whole country, is kind of holding their breath and wondering like how it's going to go economically and actually in all things, not just economically. So to have somebody that has a little insight and can be a bit of an economic fortune teller is a really positive thing. And if someone wanted to attend the summit, you said it was October 22nd?
27th.
27th.
It's on a Thursday. And it's going to be at the Center for the Arts.
Okay.
You can go on our website, www.ncerc.org. It'll direct you to buy tickets there. Or you can just give me a call at the ERC. I'll run over and sell them to you.
What I am hearing is that Gil loves to run over and talk to people, and he is great to talk to, as you can see. Gil, let's end with something fun. Tell us something fun about you personally, Gil Mathew.
Oh, 80 years of history gives you a lot of stories. I don't know which one you want.
Just the fun fact, the first thing that comes to mind. He was not prepared for this question, by the way, or any of them. This is genuinely
I will tell you the secret. How's that?
The secret?
The secret. It is a true fact that I shared a dressing room with Raquel Welch.
Wow, do tell.
Want to hear that story?
I do want to hear that story.
I won't get too far into the story, but there's a huge production in Southern California, an outdoor play. And back in the late 50s, the lead role for that was often came out of UCLA, their drama department. The play's called Ramona is a story of kind of the American invasion of the Indian population of Southern California. and some of the consequences of that. And Raquel Welch played the lead role of Ramona. In those days, her name was Raquel Tejada.
Oh.
She wasn't Raquel Welch. And it just so happened that this is an outdoor amphitheater, huge, sight of the mountain, and there was a scene when I needed to change my shirt. She needed to put on a different dress. And it all had to happen at the same time in the same place. And so I always tell people I shared a dressing room with Raquel Welch.
Was she as pretty in person as she is on the screen?
Interesting. I have memories a bit of it, but I couldn't tell you that. I did happen to go back to the 50th reunion of her performance there, and I got to meet her again at that 50th anniversary of her performance there. And for a woman that old, I thought she looked remarkably good.
Well, thank you, Gil, for sharing that story and for sharing with us about the Nevada County Economic Resource Council. It has been just a pleasure to see you again and to chat with you today. And
Valerie, I feel privileged to be in your company. You've been such a figure in our community for so long, and at the union. So thank you for the invitation.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. It was my pleasure. To learn more about the NCERC, as Gil said, go to www.ncerc.org, and Gil will run over and talk to you about anything you like.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us for Let's Chat. We'll see you next month.